It's been really a pleasure to know Pearson all these years. And let me just say a couple of things. First of all, thank you. And secondly, Glenda, I think, is going to stick her head in here in a little bit, the owner of Napa Cafe. That is the most awesome lunch. And that dessert, Pearson says she wants to marry it. So I'm with her because I just told Kim.
Yes.
Yes, I told Kim, don't touch my dessert. So when I come back. Also, I want to say it is just so great to see all of you here. There's Winston's here, Bill West from the Society of Entrepreneur membership. Some of you I've just met. And Nicole is one of my Insight Group members who's here today. Also, it's a real treat for me. There's some NABO women here today that I've known for many years. Karen Shea and Shelley Bauer and Nita Black. I've known and admired these women for a very long time, so it's really special to have them here. I really appreciate it. As I was coming in today, Karen said, she was talking about the lady who spoke at the NABO function Tuesday night. She said, you know, there's speakers, there's workers, and there's doers. And I thought, I think I fit those last two categories. Worker and doer fits who I am the best. Speaker, I love to share about things I love and things I know. So hopefully I will be able to tell you and share from my heart today. You have a bag, compliments of my team. They went in and grabbed you a bag with some things so you can, just at your leisure, know a little bit about what we do. Travel nursing, a card that actually, if you fold it, that was the intent. And it shows our new division. It has the front. And we decided to make it a division because if you know anything about Allied and nursing, Allied folks are not going to go on a nursing website to sign on. So that's why we separated it. Scott Morris told me he's still trying to figure out how that works. This right here is compliments of Nicole Pop Solutions. She helped us get this for Nurses Week. And we purchased these little scrubs, has our name. We sent it out with another little celebration to our nurses back in the beginning of May. So if you take the top off, it's a little hand sanitizer. So yeah, how cute are those? I mean, it's all about the presentation. So anyway, that's what that is. Let me make sure that I have mentioned everybody that I intended to. Good. Let me just say, being recently inducted into the Society of Entrepreneurs was an unexpected, incredible honor. I can't even put into words what I feel about that. Such an awesome group of people to be associated with. So in April, David Kelly Productions produced a little video for each of us that were inducted that night. And I thought it might be good just to let you see the really short version of my story. And Winston and I were talking about this. It's more about who we are than all about just our businesses. So it's just 3 minutes. It's short and to the point, and it'll fast forward us to the rest I want to share with you.
That's the beautiful Society of Entrepreneurs website.
And thanks to Luna Webb for the equipment today. We really appreciate them.
Time with her family and sons. She left her teaching position with Baptist Hospital. In 1988, Denise Burnett decided to spend more time with her family and sons. She left her teaching position with Baptist Hospital School of Nursing to take a part-time staff development job at a local hospital. A decision that would change her career and life. After 6 weeks of employment, the hospital had a huge budget cut with an employee layoff. Her first thought was no problem. She could go to work part-time at another local hospital. A loud voice down the hall caught her attention. That voice belonged to Carol Patterson. Carol was at the same hospital working with a staffing agency. They met and clicked right away, becoming instant close friends.
The 80s.
Carol called Denise on July 4th of that year with an idea for a startup company that would supply surgery nurses to medical facilities. That idea was the beginning of OR Nurses Incorporated, a Unfortunately, Carol would not live beyond the second year of business. This event and loss of her close friend made Denise determined to do justice to the idea and to really do the best job at it. In 2008, to celebrate 20 years in business, a nursing scholarship was established at the Baptist College of Health Sciences in memory of her friend, Carol Patterson. Denise always had a passion for nursing, developed when she was just 20 years old during a mission trip to Nairobi, Kenya. In 1988, that nursing passion was combined with another passion for a startup business supplying surgery nurses to medical facilities. A passion for your business is one of the true characteristics of all entrepreneurs. OR Nurses started with Denise and Carol, and a few other nurses filling the temporary surgical nurse positions for the hospitals and surgery centers. Denise insisted that her nurses she supplied be of the best quality available, the cream of the crop. From 1990 to 1998, Denise ran her business out of her home. She had several nurses as well as herself that filled the positions in surgery at local and regional hospitals and surgery centers. In 1998, the business expanded as they began to supply nurses for other areas of the hospital. The business became a 24-hours-a-day, 7 days a week business. This necessitated a move from her home to an outside business office. Denise now had to make a hard decision. She could no longer personally fill some of the nurse positions. In other words, she could not do it all. OR Nurses Incorporated now operates and supplies nurses in 21 states. Other interests she has shared with her husband, son Jared, son Brian, and daughter-in-law Casey is being active in their church, Hope Presbyterian. Denise's business beliefs and advice guiding her business and is guidance for others. Keep it professional, don't compromise your standards, pursue your passion. And a guiding verse from the best-selling book of all time, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't depend on your own understanding. Remember the Lord in all you do, and He will give you success. Denise Burnett and OR Nurses Incorporated, a great example of living your passion.
David Kelly, they did a great job. We really, really appreciate them. They made everything match and look good and in short. So anyway, what I want to share today, and actually during our move, I was looking for our wonderful easel that I'm real comfortable in a more classroom setting, so I had my easel, but somebody lost the paper that goes to the easel. So anyway, you'll just work with me as I go around the circle. I'm going to start with choices. One thing that God has given all of us is free choice. And as you know, the choices we make can determine what our futures will be. Fortunately, we're not only given one chance at those choices, and we can make them all the way through our life. When I was 20 years old, as this mentioned, I originally had a major in journalism and political science. I was going to go be a page in Washington. I already made the application, couldn't wait to get on the road. Well, then I developed a crush on a young man who was the son of missionaries to Africa. So, as noble as it looked for me getting on the plane, going on a missions trip, it wasn't that noble. I had one reason for going. But even though that was a turning point, it did change the direction that my life took, because two of our chaperones were nurses. They talked to me about their profession. They had a passion for it. And they arranged for me to go with them on a tour of a hospital in Nairobi. We got to go to the theater, which is the British definition of a surgical suite. And we got to watch surgery being performed. I fell in love, not with the sun, but with the profession of nursing. So that choice turned me down a completely different path. At OR Nurses, Inc., our core values are integrity, clinical excellence, and professionalism. The three things that you saw on the film where it says, keep it professional, don't compromise your standards, and pursue your passions. I want to tell you a couple stories that go with each part of that. For professionalism, as a female in a working world, sometimes I was faced with some circumstances that were a bit challenging to remain professional. Having trained to be a nurse in a Catholic hospital, they instilled in me the fact that the nursing profession was a ministry. And when you went to care for your patients, it was almost a calling. And I embraced that immediately. I got past I guess the missions trip did me more good than I thought, but I looked at it that way. And when I actually got out in the nursing world after being trained, you experience the real world. You go with this idealistic thought that everything's going to be just the way they taught you. Well, 99% of the time it was. But there was that 1% early on in my career that I had a decision to make. Some incidents would occur in a particular work environment, and they would be repeated, not only to me but to some other females in my unit. So I went to the director and I said, can you intervene? And can you do the right thing? She said, I'll never forget, she said, boys will be boys. And I thought, got to go and teach. That's what I need to do. So that was another turning point. It was just kind of a thought that even though that was an isolated incident, and like I said, 99% of the time it was wonderful, talented professionals that I worked with, that did direct me into, well, let me go teach nursing. Let me teach those ideals and let them know that you really don't have to compromise and you can be professional, men and women. Not just female, because men face their own challenges in the professional world. Integrity. Don't compromise your standards. When my nursing career took that alternative path in 1988, circumstances beyond my control, where I was laid off, never been laid off in my life, and I thought, a nurse getting laid off? But anyway, it was a turning point for me. That opportunity to combine business with the nursing profession became a reality for me. As most of you guys in business realize every day, there are so many challenges that you face and competitive issues that you may think, it's a competitive world out there, I've got to cut corners, I've got to compromise that quality just to get that deal or just to make that happen. Don't do it. That's just my advice. The short gain that you think you're going to realize from those kind of decisions always come back negative, and that you have no long-term gain from them. We have a saying at our company, just kind of a little phrase that we use. It's like, just do it right the first time. Then you don't have to go back and think, what did I do? What did I say? Because you don't have to cover any tracks if you just do it right the first time. Your reputation as a company and as a person, as a professional, is something that you've worked really hard to get that. And so you should work equally hard to maintain it. So don't let anything deter you from that goal. Recently, and this just happened within the past 6 weeks, we had one of our long-term clients call and falsely accuse one of my key employees of a very grievous situation. Very unsettling, very one of those knot in your stomach kind of things. And it reflects not only on the poor employee, but it reflects on the company as well. Well, we knew that we had done the right thing. We knew that there wasn't anything to defend, and we just hung in there and dealt with it for 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, the head of the facility called us, said, can I take you and your employee to lunch? Gave us a formal apology for, number one, falsely accusing us, secondly, for putting us through all the trauma. Now that doesn't just reflect on me, it's not just about me, it's about the whole staff and the good people that I work with. It always pays off in the long run. Hold true to your standards and your ethics no matter what. We're not perfect at OR nurses, but we strive every day to live our core values. Clinical excellence. And for me, this is part of the pursue your passion. If I ask each of you today, what are you passionate about? I mean, could you just name it right off? And whatever you're passionate about, is that what you spend the majority of your time doing? How awesome would it be if all of us in our businesses or jobs, whatever our role is, if we brought that passion to that business, to that job, how much more effective would we be? And sometimes it doesn't have to be just your passion about that particular business. You can be passionate about different things and bring that enthusiasm with you. And it makes it worth getting up in the morning, you know, if you can do that. So for me, I've been able to enjoy that passion of nursing and combine it with a gift for business. You know, we all have our own individual gifts, and none of us are created the same, which is really great. And I see that in all my staff. They bring a completely different piece of the puzzle that makes us work. And I'm in mentioning my staff, obviously, anything that OR Nurses Inc. has accomplished, anything that we get recognized for, it's not just me. You know you can't do anything by yourself. And I've got an awesome group of corporate staff. One just celebrated 17 years, one celebrated 12, 11, two just celebrated 10 years, 7, 5. The majority of them have been there a long time. And they bring such talent and such commitment to what we do. And I think that's what makes us successful, absolutely. Because we have a lot of challenges in the healthcare staffing business right now, and you can only imagine it's going to get a whole lot more challenging in the next year. Over the past year, we've employed over 300 clinically excellent healthcare professionals. And I mentioned our Allied for You division that we opened. And now we staff physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech language pathologists nationwide, in addition to our nurses. So we take that same quality and we strive for that clinical excellence, not only in the therapists, but in the nurses as well. And that's what we were passionate about. Now, full circle back to choices. In business, all of us can become so focused on what we are doing every day to make the business work, to make it successful, to deal with employees. That's a real challenge at times. That we just keep our heads down and we fail to go outside of ourselves and get input from others. I was right there. 2001, we had just bought our own building and moved in 2002. About that time, one of the pieces of mail that I got was this really beautiful invitation, Society of Entrepreneurs. I'm like, oh, wow, that would be so awesome. And I just kept putting it over to the side, I'm going to get to that. I just don't have time. Finally, I said, with the encouragement of my husband, he said, you know, you really have to get out occasionally and look at some other, get input from others and you know, get out in the business world more. So I contacted Pearson, joined an insight group. That was 2002. And that was one of the best choices I've ever made. Through the years, I've been in different settings, different folks that have been with me in an insight group. And they're confidential. They meet monthly for lunch. We share issues, take input, give input. We share successes. And I've seen so many fabulous small business owners come through these insight groups. Currently, the one that I'm with now, like I mentioned, Nicole's part of that, and her company's great. And I wouldn't have known about her company or all the things that she, as a business owner, brings to the table. So there's no competition of industry in the insight groups. So if you're an insurance salesperson, there would not be a competing business in your insight group. So you get views from so many different pieces of business focus in the Memphis community that you wouldn't even have any chance to interact with otherwise. Especially for me, I just kind of stayed huddled in my little healthcare world, and although it's a fabulous world to be in, you know, now that I've gotten input from other businesses, it's been incredible. I've been very, very pleased with being a part of that. One of the other really great benefits was that the members, I think Pearson mentioned 98 98 members of the Society of Entrepreneurs. Now these are business men and women who again, span sizes and span industry areas that bring to the Insight Group their ability to mentor. They give advice. Bill West came on one-on-one and met with us at a lunch where we had access to Bill. We could ask questions. He gave input. He shared his story with us. Jack Soden with Elvis Presley Enterprises, Mike Bruns with Comtract Logistics. I know I'm forgetting several. George Cates retired from Mid-America Apartment Communities. And I could go on and on. Karen Blockman Carrier, we met at one of her restaurants, Cielo. And she was available. And so you get so many different perspectives. We also have a group of mentors that sign up for a year individually, make a commitment to the Insight Group, and they come every month and they're available there to consistently give us input. So they kind of know our story as we go along through the year. And then they can say, how's it going with this or how's it going with that? And especially 2009, I know how many had a really great 2009? No, sorry. You know, it was a challenging year, I know, for all of us. And it was so great to be able to sit there and share things and know that those mentors that had been there, done that, and survived could give us a positive outlook and say, you know what, you're doing the right thing. And it gave me confidence in decisions that we were making for the company. Knowing that going down a certain road was a good thing. We almost didn't go with the selling of our building. We just sold our building the end of March after being there for 8 years because it wasn't functional anymore. We were all in these different rooms. And the goal was to have a new office that we could design ourselves that had the middle area kind of like, now James, I don't know if you live in this kind of world, but you know, in the movies it shows the newspaper, everybody's all out in the middle and their desks are all connected and it's a lot of energy and a lot of noise, and you know it's the engine and it's what makes that company go. We wanted that for all of our salespeople, our recruiters that are out there finding the nurses and the therapists and sending them to our clients who are in desperate need for some help. So we finally moved June 1st. And it's great. We might not have done that had I not had that confidence that, you know what, it's the right thing to do. Yeah, it's been a tough year, but it was the right thing to do. And it's so exciting to be there, to see the team connecting. They love it. Majority of them are women, and you know how we are as women. We don't know a stranger, so everybody's, talking. And yeah, and I think there's one guy out in the middle. That would be my son. And yeah, he says, next time you hire somebody, could it be a male? I'm like, yeah. So I get to work with my son and my husband on a daily basis, which is great. I do have to behave though, so that's the only bad part of that. So I think everything I wanted to share from that perspective. I do want to say this one thing. If you have any doubt about the success, the quality of these folks with the Insight Group and the Society of Entrepreneurs, who got this in the mail recently? I'm so excited to say our very own Pearson Crutcher, our director of the Society of Entrepreneurs, she's a power player for 2010, and who's who in Memphis business. Okay, well, and I'm not done. Then there's former or current, one of my Insight Group members, Kathy Fish is here under financial planning. She's in this as well. A former Insight Group member, David Waddell with Waddell and Associates, he's in here. Gary Wunderlich, former Insight Group member, he's in here. And then, as you know, as I flip through, I'm seeing so many members of the Society of Entrepreneurs that show up here on every different page. There's several categories. So if you don't have it, get it and just look. It doesn't include everybody that, you know, makes the business community in Memphis go, obviously. But these are the leaders. These are the ones who are out there, out front, making a difference every day, and that we can emulate. And it's just, it's encouraging. I had more fun going through here and seeing. I thought I put everybody's bills in here. Anyway. Y'all can look at mine if you need to. But thank you very much for letting me just share part of this today. And if you guys have any, I was going to ask Nicole, being an Insight Group member, if she would like to share anything about, this is her first time this year to be in one. And I thought, not to pick on you, but it would be, yeah, just whatever you think.
This is, like Denise said, this is my first year, and it's been a great opportunity for me. It's a choice I made that I'm definitely going to continue. And well, I joke with Kirsten, I don't know if she'll like me saying this, but it's kind of a therapy for business owners. And so you go in there and you can tell everybody, you know it's not going to leave the room. And even though Denise and I have done business together, at the beginning of the year, Kirsten talks about there's no transactions can be made, you know, not necessarily. You have to outside really want to be doing business with this person because you are kind of in this self-help group. So it's been really good, and I've met a lot of amazing people, and it's great. They kind of help you keep accountable. Tell them your problem, and the next month they're going to ask you how it went. So sometimes that's been great for me, and I have a great success story. And sometimes I kind of have, I didn't do what y'all told me to, and this is what happened. So it's been good.
Good, thanks. Yeah, she's been very refreshing to have Nicole because, again, there's not anything that any of us face as business people that all of us don't face at one time or another, just in a different time frame maybe, or a different size, or that kind of thing. So it's always great to share and be able to relate to somebody who's been there, like I said, been there, done that, and they survived, and they've been successful. So it gives you that confidence. It gives you, kind of gives you hope in the Memphis business and healthcare community. So any questions or any discussion, or Shelley?
Well, I would like to know, in light of your comment about how healthcare is getting ready to change and challenges you know that you're going to be facing, how has that changed, or maybe it hasn't, but how does your recruiting process work, and how do you see that will be changing?
Actually, in the recruiting piece of it, we've seen usually the nurses or the therapists that sign on and travel with us or work in a local and a regional market here, because we did start out locally. Our very first client was St. Francis Hospital before different people bought them. So the nuns were still there, actually, one of them. And so St. Francis was our first client, and so we had a local presence, then a regional presence, and then over the years a travel presence. Recruiting locally has always been, we've tiptoed around that because we don't do any direct recruiting locally or regionally. For the simple thing, we want to respect our clients. We don't go in and recruit their people and then turn around and send people back to them and charge them. We just don't think that's probably the best thing to do. So we tell our people, you're an invited guest. It's like you've been invited over for dinner. So when you get there, you say thank you and ask what you need to do to help. You don't complain about the food. You don't complain about the way they set the table. Or like we used to do it this way at my house. And then you volunteer to clean up before you leave. And so the idea is that you're there, you're an invited guest, you're helping out in a short situation, and then the next one. It's a certain personality of nurses that like temporary, and what I have found is a lot of nurses, when they do decide to go work for a client that we've introduced them to, we're happy for both sides, because great nurse, great client. But so many times they end up coming back because they've got that unsettled, you know, they want to go, they want to do something different, they want to have a little bit more control over their schedule. So we have nurses that just do nothing but this. We have some that work part-time for a hospital or a facility and pick up extra with us. And then we have nurses and therapists that travel, go to Hawaii. We've had one nurse, I've known her since she was a surgical tech. Then she became an RN. She worked with us locally, regionally. Now she's traveled with us. Went to Colorado, fell in love, went to work for the hospital there, broke up, came back. We sent her to Hawaii, and now she's fallen in love again. And she's working for Queens Regional Hospital in Honolulu. And so far, so good. So there's those kind of relationships that you see. And it's a different world than Allied, because these are folks that have, they're very, they know exactly what they want. You can't convince them to go somewhere if they don't want to go there. They're master's prepared, doctorate prepared. They're very, they're just a different mindset than we see with the nurses. So that's a very long answer to your short question of recruiting. But for healthcare changes, our recruitment won't change. I think the point I was originally going to make was that nurses, if their spouses maybe got laid off, some of them came back full-time for a while. Now work is opening back up for people, and we see them coming back and having more freedom. So it's just about, we've seen different years at a balance like that. So we're not going to change the way we recruit, but we do change the way we address our clients.
Denise, can I ask you?
Yes, sir.
There's a tremendous shortage of physicians. And it really is just hitting me right now. I actually have a healthcare business, and I'm feeling it harder to recruit primary care physicians, literally since last year, this year. Is that going to happen in your business? Is it going to get harder to find the staff personnel? Are there predictions about?
Probably. What I see with physicians, and I don't know how this can, I see nurse practitioners. The gentleman from Union University, Doug, is that right? Doug and I were talking earlier about how the nurses are going back to school to get their nurse practitioner, which is the best move they could make, I think, if they have that bend. And what's going to happen, I think, is the same thing that happened in surgery, where you had anesthesiologists. All of a sudden, there weren't enough to go around. So CRNAs came about, certified registered nurse anesthetists, and you would have an anesthesiologist and then CRNAs in all the surgery suites. So they would oversee, but they wouldn't have to be in every single room. Saw that at Le Bonheur at the Children's Hospital, one of the most efficiently run, fabulous ORs I've ever been in. And they had 2 anesthesiologists and CRNAs. And they took care.
Nurses to make that migration?
I think the nurses are going to be, there'll always be a shortage, but I think we'll be able to recruit them. Doctors, I think nurse practitioners are going to have to plug in some form. I don't know how that can work, but
I agree, and we're already hiring nurse practitioners, and the patients are perfectly happy to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, ER doctors especially are short right now. We see that. So hopefully we can find a way to put the nurse practitioner in with the doctors and make it work like it did in surgery. So, Karen?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could place a financial consultant in Paris. Not Tennessee, right?
I know. Now wait, one of your taglines, as I recall, was something like, I'm going to help you make so you can do something in France. What was it?
Make sure you have enough money to retire to France on the beach with Beach Boys bringing you cocktails.
Yeah, she got everybody's attention with that tagline. Absolutely. Wow. Share with them if any other details about the Insight Group, if you would.
All I will say that it's been this year we did it a little bit different than we've done it in the past, and that we have 6 members of the society that actually sign on, that they meet with those same people, so that they don't have to be there every time, because the members of the society are mostly traveling or operating big businesses. But we have, and help me because I hate when I start naming the names, so if I leave anybody out. We have Rudy Scheidt, L.D. Beard, Doug Marchant, Walker Yulhorn, George Falls, and I have Mike Bruns that meet with that group right now. We are starting another group right now, and then in that group I've got Billy Orgel and Dick Godomsky who have already agreed to be part of that, and we're working on the other 4. And honestly, those are the only ones I've asked. So I've never had a member of the society say that they won't do it in some form or fashion. So it shouldn't be too hard to find those other people to do that group. It is, I have my master's in social work, and I think that there's a lot of people that do these groups for business owners that we kind of model it after. I don't pretend to know anything about operating a business. That's not what I do. I connect people, and that's what I'm passionate about, is making those relationships. And that's what I think is so neat about the Insight Group, is that when somebody comes to me and they've got a problem in their business, and their business is in the construction industry, and I can call Frank Inman or I can call Ari Linkus and say, can you meet with these people, and they're willing to do it. I think that's so much more valuable than anything else that I can do, because being able to go to those people that have been there and done that and been successful is what really matters. I mean, you can't get a better advice than somebody that's already made the mistake, so you don't have to.
That's exactly.
But does anybody have any questions?
But to be in an Insight Group, you have to be a member of SOA, right?
No, you're not a member of the SOA.
Oh.
It's kind of the next level. No, Denise, I mean, Nicole's not a member. They are people that we would think would eventually be members of the Society of Entrepreneurs, for sure. And the thing about our group too is that there is a fee for the members to be an Insight Group. It's $800 a year. We usually do, if you pay by a certain time, it's this amount, and then you can make a couple payments. And that really mostly covers the cost, because we meet usually at Paulette's and at noon, so it covers the cost of your lunch mostly. That's another beautiful thing, is because the society is a nonprofit, and because the members really want to see businesses succeed, and they want to see this, but it's not a way that we're going to make a lot of money. So it's because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide a service. So it's pretty cool. It's really fun. So I love getting to know the people. I have the best job in the city, actually.
She does. She does.
All these great business owners, and that's what makes me a power player.